What's good, family? It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den broadcasting community. Shout out to Ibn Vision Photography and Video. He did an excellent job on the Southern University 2025 Blue versus Gold Spring game. Major shout out to him. You know, if you need some videography, a variety of different things, commercials, whatever, you have a wedding, any event that you may want to do, contact Envision Photography and Video. I'm Marlon Harvey on Facebook. Shout out to the Louisiana All-American Sports Network. And shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. In this particular live stream, I am going to talk about 5 things you may have missed during the 2025 Southern University Blue versus Gold Spring game. Now, as we all know, the 2025 Southern University Blue versus Gold Spring game was just about a month and a half ago. And I'm not going to lie, I was like so impressed with the team from an offensive standpoint in particular, because as we know, Southern University, the last 2 seasons, the defense has carried the team and the offense has struggled. So offensively, I was extremely impressed. But I'm just going to talk about 5 things you may have missed during the Southern University Blue versus Gold Spring game. Some of these things I was vocal about, I pointed out. However, some of these other things I really didn't mention. So let's start out with number 5. Number 5, we know that last spring, the offensive line play left a lot to be desired. And as a result, like last spring, they passed the ball about 85% of the time. Whereas this spring, they passed the ball about 90% of the time. But the passing game was light years, just so much better than it was the previous spring. However, one thing I didn't point out is the fact that not only was the passing game very efficient, and it was an excellent passing game, but I'm not hitting on Mark Frederick, as y'all know. I think he left a lot to be desired as an offensive coordinator. Shout out to my brother Jay Good. Salute to you, bro. But Southern's passing game, they attacked the field both in all 3 levels, both short, intermediate, and deep. I dropped a few more spring clips. Go check them out. But I just noticed it that they attack the field on all 3 levels. And shout out to your boy, Jay. Man, salute to your fam. You say, what's up, coach? What's good with your fam? I'm blessed and highly favored. But just looking at the clips, I didn't realize that they did such a good job attacking the field both in a short passing game, in an intermediate passing game, and in a vertical passing game. They attacked on all 3 levels. However, they did most of the damage like in that short to intermediate game, but they did do a good job going vertical, throwing a touchdown pass to Darren Morris. And I mean, they did an excellent job attacking the defense on all 3 levels. So that's one thing I really didn't notice. I knew they did a good job passing the ball and, playing pitch and catch and throwing the ball around the yard. But I'm not even going to lie, they did an excellent job in a passing game attacking on all 3 levels, both short, intermediate, and deep. So that's one thing I didn't notice. So that's my number 5 takeaway on 5 things you may have missed during the 2025 Southern University Blue versus Gold Spring game. The next thing, the defense. I'm not even gonna lie. You know, the defense at times, I'm not worried about the defense because the defense has carried Southern the last few years, and the defense always seemed to bring in good players, whether we talking about Jordan Lewis, Jason Dumas, Taj Brown, Darius Harry, Herman Bristol III. So they always, doing their thing. So Jay Good asks, wide receiver by committee in 2025 are there is a standout wide receiver. I'm not gonna lie, Jay Good, you and I talked behind the scenes about in terms of like Darren Morris. Like this past season, he was like the number 2. Chandler Whitfield was the number 1. But in all actuality, to most years, Chandler Whitfield probably would have been a number 2. Darren Morris would have been a number 3. I don't know if he just had a great spring game, but I'm not gonna lie, I was thoroughly impressed with him. He clearly, in my opinion, was the number 1 guy. I think aside from him, I think it's wide receiver by committee. But in my personal opinion, especially if you saw the clip where he scored the long touchdown, like that was the last clip I posted, like clip 28 from the spring game. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I think he clear cut the go-to guy. And another thing too, they really didn't involve the tight ends like they did the previous spring. Hopefully they get back to doing that during the season. But I really think Darren Morris, if he continues to evolve and play the way he played in the spring game, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I think he could be a number 1 guy in terms of being the primary wide receiver. Now, I'm not gonna jump out the window and say he's gonna be like a Fred Bailey type wide receiver, but I'm not gonna lie, he made some plays. He made some short plays, some intermediate plays. He had the biggest play of the spring game in that first half. So I'm not gonna lie, he really kind of like the standout guy from a wide receiver standpoint. I don't know how they're gonna play out during the course of the season, but I'm gonna keep it a buck. Week 1, I think North Carolina Central, or week 0, North Carolina Central and the Swag versus MEAC challenge. They're gonna really need to look out for him because I'm not gonna lie, he got off in the spring game. But next thing too, the defense was kind of up and down. Like that first series, clearly they're not the same defense without Kelby Givens. They only gave him a series. He got those 4 plays, and I really didn't see him anymore after that. But defensively, even without Kelby Givens, there were plays where they looked real good as a defense. And then, but for the most part, I'm not gonna lie, the offense just kind of, after that first series, they just kind of moved the ball up and down the field, up and down the field, up and down the field. But defensively, like they were up and down. So one play they make an excellent play. First series they played good, but other than that, it was like a mixed bag. They look real good certain points. They look not so good at other points. So the fourth thing that the average person may have missed during a Southern University Blue versus Gold spring game is the defense was extremely up and down. Played well certain plays, but for the most part, a lot of plays they really didn't. They didn't like the world on fire. Like I said, I'm not concerned about the defense. The main thing I was looking for was offensive play. You know what I'm saying? And they really kind of did their thing on that. Jay Good was like, my concerns are on the interior D line. I'm glad you pointed that out. That was the next point. The number 3, the offensive and defensive line. I'm not gonna lie, like I know Coach Graves and staff, they did a good job, like bringing in like some ginormous offensive linemen. And I'm not gonna lie, the defense at certain points, I don't know like all the players yet, but certain players, especially both on the offensive and defensive line, like they look big, but it's gonna be interesting to see if they're the same kind of size when the season starts. Because, like you were saying, Jay Good, I mean, you lost Willie Miles, Davin Cotton, Darius Harry. So 3 of your 4 starting defensive linemen are gone. So that's a major concern. I mean, they brought in some some defensive linemen. They brought in some offensive linemen. And they look big just watching them, during the blue versus gold spring game. But it's going to be interesting to see, like, when I see them more up close in person during the season, are they going to have that same kind of size? And I'm not going to lie, one thing I can say about them, outside of Kelvin Givens, I really wasn't moved in terms of the pass rush from the D-line. But I'm not going to lie, they did a real good job stopping the run. But, I'm not going to lie, the running game, it left a lot to be desired. So I really don't know if I really give the defensive line credit for that. I give, blame the offense for just not having, the backs they did. Of course, I did a video yesterday talking about them bringing in Mike Franklin from UTEP/Jacksonville State. But I'm not going to lie, that's an interesting point in terms of the D-line. So, I talked about one of the things you may have missed is in terms of how they attacked on all three levels in the passing game. I talked about the defense. Then I talked about the offensive and defensive line. Next, which they kind of addressed, the number two thing is they look real young at the running back position. I'm not even going to lie. I mean, I know they brought in Mike Franklin, and for what I'm understanding, they're trying to bring in a couple more running backs, from what I hear behind the scenes. I think Mike Franklin is really going to be kind of, I think he's going to be a big addition to the running back room. Having that power guy that could kind of be like a Lionel Nicholas, a Steele Adams, a Gerard Sims. I don't think they really had a power back since Gerard Sims, to keep it a buck. So I think Mike Franklin is really going to be a big get. But if you remove him from the equation, like their running back room is kind of young, and it kind of showed during the course of the blue versus gold spring game. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm glad I think they was gonna be decent at running back, but I wasn't moved what I saw during the blue versus gold spring game. But I think bringing in Mike Franklin is a big addition, especially having that power back. And that's another thing too. Like, I'm glad they brought him in because, like, all of their running backs, really, aside from Amari and Asbury, like, we know Southern, just historically speaking, they like the third down type backs, whether we talking about Lindsey Scott Sr., Melvin Williams Jr., Steve Warford, Ryan Lewis, Gerald Holmes, Carl Ligon, Kendrick Grimes. Like, they like that third down, smallish type back. And I'm not going to lie, really, if you don't add Mike Franklin to the equation, that's pretty much all they got. Like, they got all of these smallish type backs. I think they quality backs, but I think you need a couple big physical bruisers that kind of add to the mix. So you kind of mix it up so you don't have just all that one type of back, like the CJ Russell type backs. You won't have, you just won't have a mixed bag. You don't want to have all smallish backs. You want to have, a mix of backs. And your boy Jay was saying, hopefully Fredericks trust the quarterback this year, seeing us run inside zone 30 times a game was rough. I'm not going to lie. That's my last point. And Jay Good say definitely. That was my last point, your boy Jay. The last point is, I really can't emphasize this enough, though. The number one thing that really stood out was the outstanding quarterback play. If I say the quarterback play was good, I think it'll be doing Jalen Woods and Jamari Jones a disservice. And I'm not going to lie, your boy Jay, you bring up an excellent point. We know Mark Frederick likes to run the ball. But if he run heavy this year, shame on him. Because I'm not even going to lie. What I saw during the blue versus gold spring game, Jalen Woods is your guy. And even if, because just like during this past season, they pulled Noah a lot and ended up going with T-Set. Then eventually ended up going with Jalen Woods. I think even if Woods is hurt or he struggled or whatever, I'm not going to lie, what I saw from Jamari Jones. Jamari Jones is more the dual threat of the two. And then you add old boy from J-State, McCoy, to the mix. I'm not gonna lie, I think their quarterback room this coming season is gonna be so much better than what it was last year. It's not even close. And the quarterback play, I know Mark Frederick like to run the ball, but I'm not gonna lie. Based on what I saw in the Blue vs. Gold spring game, I'm not saying he shouldn't run the ball. He should have a certain degree of balance, but he needs to lean more towards the passing game than the running game. Unless the offensive line just can't block in the passing game or something else goes wrong. I'm gonna be honest with you. He really gotta lean. He gotta lean heavily on the passing game more so than the running game. So I'm not gonna lie. If your boy Jay, if Mark Frederick screwed this up, I wasn't calling for, hey, y'all need to get rid of him. That ain't really what I do. But I'm gonna keep it real with you. If he messed this up in terms of trying to run the ball and run all that inside zone and just pound, and that's another thing too. They brought in, some huge offensive linemen. You brought in a power back with Mike Franklin. The way it's looking like, that's probably what he want to try to do this coming year. So I hope that's not the strategy. You know what I'm saying? And Jay Good was saying, adding McCoy is bananas. His dual threat ability brings a whole nother dimension. And I mean, that's the thing about it. I don't know how much of a better dual threat he is than Jamari Jones, but I don't know if you look at the last couple clips. I mean, I'm not saying he was like Bashawn McCray, Darius Skelton type athletic Jay Good, but I'm not gonna lie, he's clearly more of the dual threat between him and Jalen Woods. And I'm not gonna lie, just from what I'm seeing and people I talk to, they're more excited about McCoy from a baseball perspective than they are from a quarterback perspective. Because talking to a couple of J-State people, they was like, they felt like, he's a very good athlete from a dual threat perspective, but they don't know how good a quarterback he is. He clearly a pitcher from a baseball standpoint, but they're not really sold on him as a passer. And you kind of bring making my point in terms of he is elusive, LOL. Yeah, I mean, he elusive, but they were saying that they're not thrilled with him from a passing standpoint. I guess he kind of like that Bashawn McCray, Darius Skelton, like high level runner, but they wasn't thrilled with him from a passing standpoint. Nah, they say from a baseball standpoint, like he's clearly a pitcher, but from a football standpoint, they don't know if he's just a straight quarterback. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him to say, yeah, he this, he that. Like for example, like Bashawn McCray. Man, I said it for the longest. I'm like, man, this dude ain't nothing but a glorified running back playing quarterback. Like he a lesser version of Darius Skelton. You know what I'm saying? And even Darius Skelton was clearly a better runner than passer, but at least with Darius Skelton, he could throw you a little short pass like in a flats or something, or he could throw the ball deep down the field to kind of stretch the defense. I like that in his game more than Bashawn McCray. I wasn't moved by Bashawn McCray in terms of passing the ball from a short, intermediate, or deep standpoint. I'm like, damn, this dude is just basically a glorified running back playing quarterback. And, both of them really, all I would do from a defensive standpoint is just load up the box and just take away the running. All right, now you got to beat me passing the ball. But, so McCoy, like, I don't know if he – I know they say he a great athlete. He a great pitcher from a baseball standpoint. And he is a dual threat guy, but more of a runner than a passer. I don't know how good a passer he is. And your boy Jay was saying, having Fred McNair as a quarterback coach changes the game. He had QBs who would barely throw at Alcorn, but he made it work. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's another thing too. There were points at Alcorn where, especially when Alcorn defense just was in another stratosphere, they would play against Southern, and their quarterbacks be like, man, their quarterback's trash. But guess what? Their defense and their running game was so good. It was like, hey, as long as you complete a 5-yard slant, a 10-yard little skinny post, or 5 and out, 7-yard comeback, whatever. you was gonna be good because their defense was so good and their running game was so good. It's like, dang, bro, like what you gonna do with their defense? What you gonna do with their defense? And I'm especially when Odom was coaching. I remember this one game, man. We sat at A.W. Mumford, and they did so much running all day. And I'm like, bro, I know Southern offense was struggling. I'm like, man, I hope they can at least move the ball some. They couldn't move the ball at all on Alcorn defense. And Alcorn wasn't that great from a passing standpoint, but they ran the ball and their defense just was And Troy Lee LeBlanc said, let's go, Jags. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go, Jags. Jay Good said, I thought last year going against GSU, you had a better chance winning against Morgan versus McCoy. Prior to him getting hurt, the D was looking shaky when McCoy ran the ball. I'm not even going to lie. I'm going to be honest with you. I was always confident in the defense, but that offense, man, the offense was just And then the thing about it is, the thing that really got me, and of course, we was texting in our, our group chat, but I think if Mark Frederick would have stuck with the passing game and quit trying to go back to that, we're going to line up and punch J State in the mouth running game. I'm like, dude, like, you having success mixing it up. I know Zay ain't all world from a passing standpoint, but I felt like he was effective in that game. I'm not going to lie. I think offensively, Mark Frederick really didn't care, especially when we were up that touchdown. I think had Southern scored and went up 2 scores, I think that changes the complexion of the game. But the fact that, he tried to go back to the running game and they didn't, they didn't go up 2 scores. And then guess what? Morgan came in the game and hey, the rest is history. Because that's the thing about it. When I'm not gonna lie, they missed a big penalty. When J State got the ball and went down the field and scored, it was a holding penalty. I don't think it would have changed the game either way. But I think once Jackson State tied it up going into halftime, I was like, damn, And then it was kind of all downhill after that. They came out, they scored to start the second half, and then old boy wide receiver, he got stripped. I'm like, oh, shucks, man. So at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like it's a game that kind of slipped away. There's still a certain percentage of Jaguar Nation that felt like had Jalen Wood started in that game, that Southern would have won. I think that's neither here nor there, but the one good thing about it is, guess what? When they come to A.W. Mumford, then, we're going to get our shot. So, I think at the end of the day, like, these are the 5 things that really, kind of stood out to me just, because I just uploaded, like, the last, 8 or 9 clips from the Blue versus Gold spring game. The passing game was just kind of on another level for me. Jay Good was saying the short passing game out of the stacked set was working early on. He definitely, when he came out in that little bunch set, and then I think a couple times he came out in like stacked trips, and then he had like a stacked wide receiver set on each side. Like, he was doing damage with that. Like, you must have read my mind because I'm not gonna even lie to you. He was doing good with that. And I'm like, dude, for you to get away from that and go back to just trying to pound a rock, like, what you doing, bro? Like, y'all not having that kind of success just trying to ram the ball down J State throat. Like, what are you doing? Like, I think that 5 wide passing game, it had J State off balance. And, that's the thing that really concerned me, And like I said, your boy Jay kind of brought it up in terms of Mark Frederick. I ain't gonna lie, your boy Jay, if Mark Frederick messed it up this year, I'm gonna kind of be looking at him with a side eye because I think he needs to lean more on a passing game this season than trying to just line up and just run the ball, trying to pound the ball on. And that's the thing about it. He was able to get away with it against everybody else, but that wasn't gonna work against J State. He should have just stuck with the passing game against J State, as opposed to just trying to, line up and just trying to pound a rock and just keep running that damn inside zone, bro. It's like, man, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing, bro? Like, you're not gonna just pound J State like that. Their defensive line is just, They wasn't going for it. And I don't know why he thought he could just kind of revert back to that. And then in the second half, when he tried to go back to the passing game, it's like you let it get cold. It kind of reminded me of the previous season when at one point towards the end of the season when they were playing against Prairie View at home and basically they took Harold Blood out and they brought Noah in, and Noah was playing good. And then for no apparent reason, they took him out and they brought Harold Blood back in. And then they tried to swap him back. I'm like, look, bro, you don't let the boy get cold. Now, like, I don't know what you expecting. Like, if you expect him to bring him back in here and he just gonna turn it back on, like it ain't gonna work like that. You know what I'm saying? So, hopefully, from a coaching standpoint, Mark Frederick pushes the right buttons. I think he has to lean. I mean, you want to have a certain degree of balance. You definitely want to be able to run the ball, but I think you have to kind of lean more on the passing game this coming season than a running game. Especially until you get a back that can really show that they can handle the workload you're trying to give them. And we was built for that. We was built for that type of game. You're playing at his strength, and that's the thing about it. It's like, why would you just try to just pound the ball on J State? They built for being stout defensively. So you just trying to line up and just trying to ram the ball down their throat. Man, it's stupid, bro. And your boy Jay was saying, hopefully the offensive line get it together too. They were shaky all season, even in the Bayou Classic. They were bad. Luckily, GSU offense was worse than I was. LOL. And that's another thing too. I know Woods was kind of young, in the game. That was only like his second start. I felt like he didn't trust him enough in that GSU game for me in the Bayou Classic. And the O-line was shaky, but I'm not gonna lie, they look real efficient in the spring game from a passing standpoint. Now, from a running standpoint, you young at the running back position. So I kind of attribute that more to the running backs than I do to the offensive line. But at least, when they got on the goal line, I already knew what they were going to do. They're going to line up in the eye. And instead of running like some type of wham or ISO lead, they're going to get a ball to the fullback and fake some kind of flip 90 or counter toss the other way. And that's kind of what they always do. So hopefully he is not as predictable this year in those short down and distance situations. Because when you get on the goal line, you line up in the eye, people know the fullback going to get the damn ball. So he need to switch it up and kind of vary. I mean, every coach have tendencies. I know when I got in certain situations, certain down and distances, I wanted to call a certain play, but I was cognizant of that. I didn't run it every single time, especially if teams started to stop it, you know what I'm saying? And he was saying O-line should be better with returning younger starters who actually played together and have experience. And that's another thing too. Like I said, I was thoroughly impressed with the offensive line from a passing standpoint, but from a running standpoint, I don't attribute that more to the offensive line. I attribute it more to the the young running backs. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they definitely have experience. They have chemistry. They gel together. And from a pass blocking standpoint, I was impressed. There were a few times that Jamar Jones, he just kind of took off and bolted and ran. I saw one time that Chandler Woods tried to take off and run. He got tripped and sacked. I don't think it was a sack. I think it just was a tackle for no gain. But I'm like, damn, bro, that's not really in your game. I don't know if he just was reading the defense or he was trying to do what Jamar Jones was doing. But either way, clearly Jamar Jones had more success being like a dual threat, running the ball than Jalen Woods, But other than that, I'm not gonna lie, it was an excellent spring game. I uploaded the last 8 or 9 clips I had in my phone. Maybe a couple of them might have been repeat clips for the most part, based on what I saw on my phone. I think I might have had like 4 or 5 clips that I ended up deleting that I really couldn't do nothing with. But for the most part, I felt like these are the 5 things that really kind of stood out to me in the 2025 Sunday versus Blue versus Gold spring game. I appreciate everybody that came through on this live stream. My brother Jake Good. Me and him definitely gonna have to link up. Your boy Jay. And who else? We got somebody else. And Troy Lee LeBlanc. Man, I appreciate all of y'all for coming through, showing some love, dropping in on the live stream. You know, my brother Jared Lovin Green, he's supposed to have another edition of the Southern Baller Show, but I don't know what happened or whatever. But you know, we really didn't get that off today. But you know, we'll probably pick it back up next week, whatever. So, but we did have a great show yesterday on the Black Man's Perspective. If you have not checked out my brother on this show, myself, him, and the General 78 Sports TV, we had a great show yesterday on the Black Man's Perspective. You know, talking about some boxing and talking about the Rocky series. It was great dialogue, great conversation. So y'all go check out my brother. Also, go check out my brother Brent Fox on his show. It's just me starring Brent Fox. You know, he's a Steelers fan. He talks Steelers. He talks with some boxing talk also. So go check him out. Also, go check out my sister, the beloved Queen Shabala Yah. You know, she been on a little hiatus lately, but she getting back on the grind. Y'all go check her out with her boxing talk. Also go check out my brother 78 Sports TV. His 2 channels. His primary channel is 78 Sports TV. His backup channel is a No 304 Show. He might go live later on tonight. Who knows? Oh, major shout out to Adrian Crook. He said, "What's up, man? What's going on, family?" Just talking about how I uploaded the last 8 or 9 clips from the Southern University Blue versus Gold spring game, and also 5 things that some people might have missed during the Southern University Blue versus Gold spring game. You know, I just kind of broke it down. I'm kind of wrapping up the live stream, but probably in but another hour or so, I got another video dropping where I drop another Southern University top 5. So be on the lookout for that. I pretty much uploaded all my clips from the 2025 Southern University Blue versus Gold spring game, but I got a lot of content coming out. So y'all be on the lookout for that. I appreciate everybody that's been rocking with me since day one. I appreciate all the new subscribers and everybody just kind of been showing me love. I'm not even gonna lie, even lately, like been going a couple places in public, people been recognizing me. So that's a good sign, at least the channel doing a little something, is trending in the right direction. I'm less than 300 subscribers short of that magical, majestic 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel so we can get to the 1,000 subscriber mark. You know, I appreciate everybody. Like I say, later on today, I got another Southern University top 5 that's going to drop. I got a lot more content coming. I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Y'all have a blessed and phenomenal evening. Peace and blessings to everyone. And go Jags!